Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
All right, back for more Mafia. First of the month, first week of the month. Outlaws and Gunslingers Mafia edition. We only got a couple bosses left. We got two, actually. Menders are round up some pretty decent stories on these two guys. Anthony Corallo, who was the boss after Tramunti. And then we're going to move on to an acting boss, who was Alphonse D'Arco, who was an acting boss for the current boss, Amuso. Vittorio Amuso, who's the current boss, but he's in prison. So there's been like 6 acting bosses. So we're going to cover all the acting bosses before him, and then he'll round out our bosses. But Alphonse D'Arco, he is the first mob boss, well, the highest ranking guy to turn informant up until Big Joe Messino that we covered a while back for the, who was it? Either the Bonanos, yeah. So that's pretty interesting. So he had a nice little story on him. Yeah, first up, though, Anthony Corallo. They call him Tony Ducks. He took over as boss after Tramunti. I think he went to prison, yeah. He exercised tremendous control over trucking and construction unions in New York. He did. He was born in New York, February 12th, 1913. Grew up in the Italian neighborhood of East Harlem. He was quiet, unassuming. He enjoyed gardening, opera, and pasta, of course. In his later years, he owned a luxurious home in Oyster Bay Cove, New York. That's like a mobster haven.
Yeah.
In the 1920s, he joined the 107th Street Gang in East Harlem. His first arrest came in 1929 for grand larceny, and he was age 16, but not convicted.
Of course. By 1935, Corallo had become a member of the Gagliano crime family, the forerunner of the Lucchese family. Underboss Tommy Lucchese recruited Corallo to work with mobster Johnny Dio.
Oh, Johnny Dio.
The leader of the labor racketeering operations in Manhattan Garment District. They got the old fur coats and
fancy dresses for the missus.
Brand new alligator skin shoes. 1941, Corallo arrested after the Popo found him in possession of narcotics. It was valued at about $150,000 they found him with. Holy shit. He was later convicted of narcotics violations and sent to city jail on Rikers Island for 6 months.
City jail on Rikers Island. It's like a prison now.
Right.
1943, he was appointed as a capo of his own crew, which was an accomplishment for a man in his early 30s. Yeah. He then moved his base of operations from East Harlem to Queens.
All right.
Corallo and Dio, they eventually controlled 5 local chapters of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Oh.
These two gangsters used these Teamster chapters to set up favorable deals with trucking companies and exploit the rank and file chapter members. Corallo and Dio, they also controlled local chapters of the Conduit Workers Union, which is now called the Communication Workers Union. They also controlled the United Textile Workers Union, now called Unite here, and the Brotherhood of Painters and Decorators, now called the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. They controlled everything.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Everything that construction-wise.
That's crazy.
Or clothes.
Well, painters, decorators, anything to do with
Anything.
Anything.
Yeah, crazy stuff. That's how you do it. The labor racketeering activities generated millions for the Gagliano family.
I'm sure they did.
From 1941 to the year 1960, Corallo was arrested 12 times for various crimes. However, not even one case made it to trial.
And that's why
Lucchese was amazed at Corallo's ability to avoid or duck convictions. After one of these many dismissals, Lucchese mused, "Tony ducks again." From then on, Corallo was known as Tony Ducks.
Tony Ducks.
1951, longtime boss Tommy Gagliano, dead, natural causes. Lucchese said, "Guess what, boys? New leader, new us."
New name, baby.
New name.
August 15, 1959, Corallo, he testified before the U.S. Senate Select Committee on improper activities in labor and management. Okay. Senators wanted Corallo to explain the theft of $70,000 from Teamsters Union Local 239 by using names of dead mob members.
Oh.
All right. Like many other mobsters, Corallo refused to answer any questions. He pleaded the fifth 120 times during his 2-hour interrogation. Damn. He said, "I ain't talking."
Plead fifth. 7th of December, 1961. Everybody's mourning Pearl Harbor Day. Corallo, he was indicted on charges of trying to bribe New York Supreme Court Justice Vincent Keogh, and former United States Attorney Elliot Canaher. Corallo wanted them to drop a bankruptcy fraud case against one of his associates. 23rd of January, 1961, the New York Popo subpoenaed... the New York police subpoenaed...
You see, I got a subpoena.
I got a subpoena. The New York police subpoenaed Corallo after finding out he was hiding in a Long Island home that was rented by his associate Felice Falco. 17th of June, 1962, Corallo convicted of bribery. 2nd August, 1962, Corallo sentenced 2 years state prison.
Well, he didn't duck that one, did he?
Nope, not today, Charlie.
Well, July 13th, fast forward to 1967, Lucchese dies of a brain tumor. By nearly all accounts, Corallo was Lucchese's choice to succeed him. However, December 18th, 1967, Corallo was indicted on charges of receiving a kickback payment from a contractor for the renovation of the Jerome Park Reservoir in the Bronx. Also indicated was James Marcus, who was the former city water commissioner, who had started dealing with Corallo due to loan sharking debts.
I bet.
June 19th, 1968, convicted in the Marcus bribery case. July 26, 1968, he was sentenced to 3 years federal prison.
Yeah.
Getting away with your plans, bud.
You went to that well too many times. With Corallo in prison, the commission designated Carmine Tramunti as interim Lucchese boss. Some people have speculated that Corallo became boss immediately upon his 1970 release from prison, and that Tramunti was only an acting or front boss for the next 3 years. Obviously.
Well, you remember the Tramunti story?
Right.
They said that he'll do until Corallo gets out.
Right. 7th of May, 1973, Tramunti was sentenced 15 years federal prison. Corallo then became the indisputable boss of the Lucchese family. He had the fulalala, however you call it, the ufala.
Right. Well, one of his first moves as boss was to take over gravel distribution in various areas of New York, such as Long Island. And owning major gravel companies in his territories or areas of influence, Corallo increased the Lucchese family's influence in the construction industry.
Oh, yeah. You know.
And with the union involved.
If you don't have gravel, you don't have nothing.
Right. The garbage industry would be next on his list, with the help of a union official named Bernie Adelstein.
Dude, they were so smart to go for, like, the shit nobody even think of.
Oh, also,
garbage, construction.
Also, the shit that's not going to go away.
Right. It's insane.
Especially this day and age. Like, they're building up New York right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Bernie Adelstein, the front business would be called Private Sanitation Industry Association. Next, with the help of Lucchese capo Paul Vario and his crew, Corallo would gain power at JFK International Airport. He would indeed, because that's where that old Lufthansa heist takes place.
You're not kidding. Early 80s, Corallo unwittingly provided the government with evidence
these guys.
that would all but end his career. Over the years, Corallo, Salvatore Avellino established a stranglehold on the waste hauling business in Long Island. To gather evidence against Avellino, members of the New York State Organized Crime Task Force used undercover informant Robert Kubica, the owner of Suffolk County garbage hauling business. He's like, we're going to use you, bud.
Well, yeah, because since the 70s, Kubica had refused to participate with mob control of the waste hauling business.
Nice.
And had suffered extensive harassment as a result.
That's all. He's lucky that's all it was.
Right. 1982, he agreed to wear a surveillance device during meetings with mobsters.
Ooh.
Although Kubica was unable to get close to Avellino himself, the information Kubica gathered eventually persuaded a judge to allow a wiretap on Avellino's home phone in Nissaquag, New York. A home phone tap was also disappointing to the agents. However, it did reveal that Avellino was driving Corallo around all day in Avellino's car. Said, hey, boys, what do you think we should do there?
Right.
They're not going to talk in their house,
Right.
but...
Can we get in their vehicle? 1983, members of the task force installed an electronic surveillance device. This was inside the dashboard in Avellino's Jaguar. While he and his wife were at a dinner dance. Well, they had plenty of time. Agents then listened to many conversations between Corallo, Avellino, and other mobsters as they drove around the city. Wow.
Yep.
From these recorded conversations, the task force learned that the commission's internal structure. They learned the history of the commission and relations with other crime families. Oh, man. Dude, you think you can just say what that's like a little box where you can say anything in the whole world and nobody but you people inside there are going to know.
So you think.
So you think.
I hope they're not stupid enough to be doing it nowadays, because all this OnStar bullshit.
That's why they did it.
Probably, yeah.
Right.
Obviously. This will help you when you crash, also. Better not, even if you don't have your subscription.
Right.
These conversations were shared with federal prosecutors and provided them with invaluable evidence against Corallo and other family bosses in the Mafia Commission trial. We'll have a whole episode on it. February 25th, 85, Corallo and other mob leaders were indicted in that trial. However, Corallo was in the hospital and not arrested until after a few days after his release from the hospital. Among the defendants were underboss Salvatore Santoro and concierge Christopher Funari. They call him Chrissy Tick.
Oh, Chrissy Tick.
Among the more dramatic allegations against Mr. Corallo and some of his co-defendants was the charge of conspiracy to murder Carmine Galante, who was then head of the Bonanno family, and 2 associates in 1979. They were killed in a hail of gunfire as they ate lunch on the patio of a Brooklyn restaurant. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Isn't that the picture with he's got a cigar in his mouth or in his hand still?
Believe so. Michael Chertoff, the lead prosecutor on the commission trial, later became United States Attorney for New Jersey. He said that Mr. Corallo was as stoical as they came. He was very impassive in court, unlike some of the other defendants who at least would kid around a bit.
He's like,
this dude's here business.
Kidding?
He went on to say that he sat there like one of these big stone idols. Didn't move, didn't make facial expression, nothing. According to Ronald Goldstock, former director of the New York State Organized Crime Task Force, went nearly a year listening to the secret tapes from Mr. Avellino's car. Mr. Corallo never really became acclimated to the flashier world of the mob that emerged in the 80s. He's like, this ain't how you should do it.
Dude was born in 1913 or something.
Right, he was an old head. He was Mustache Pete.
Basically.
He hated those John Gottis and all that.
Ironically, he was against the Mustache Pete's probably with Lucky on them, but then now it's the 80s, and now he's the Mustache Pete.
Right. At the time he ascended, Mr. Goldstock said, bosses tended to be insulated. Prison sentences were fairly minimal. People who rose to this level were tested.
Especially in this family, we've already done 4 or 5 bosses and very little information on these guys.
He goes on to say they were trained and they were proven. But by the time the 80s rolled around, everything changed. New people didn't grow out of the gangs of Little Italy or Brooklyn. They were untested and untrained. Yeah. Damn, just like throwing 18-year-olds out into the world.
Well, waiting trial, a meeting was held at Funari's home where Corallo told Funari that he wanted the capo of Funari's old crew, Vittorio Amuso, or Funari's aide-de-camp, Anthony Casso, as his successor.
All right.
Funari, Amuso, and Casso met in a separate room. And ultimately, it was decided Amuso would take the mantle.
That's great. Good communication right there.
Right. Though Corallo reportedly preferred Casso, he agreed to take Amuso acting boss later that year. And it was understood he would formally become boss when Corallo, Santoro, and Funari were expected to be convicted, sent to prison for 100 years.
Right.
Literally.
Good for these guys getting down to business there. 19th of November, 1986. Corallo and other defendants convicted of all racketeering charges. 13th January 1987, Corallo sentenced 100 years in prison.
Yep.
And a measly $240,000 fine.
That's like $600,000 today.
August 23rd, year 2000, Anthony Corallo, dead, natural causes, Federal Medical Center for Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, damn. Well, that's going to lead us to one of the acting bosses.
Little Al.
For Amuso, Alphonse D'Arco. They call him Little Al. He became the acting boss of the family. We'll get to that. He was the first boss, acting or otherwise, of a New York crime family to become a government witness. So we'll get to that. Because, yeah, Amuso, we'll get to him, too. Because Casso, too, I believe.
Yeah.
They did some dirty shit.
Well, that's what happens.
Born in Brooklyn, New York, D'Arco grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, near the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and attended a Catholic grammar school. He says his childhood was like being in the forest, and all the trees were the Dons and the organized crime guys.
Exactly.
You can't get away with it. He had an uncle that was in the mob, but his father was a businessman running a small basement dye shop for the garment industry. Well, where do you think what do you think his brother was doing?
Exactly.
Well, above the shop, however, a local hoodlum had a bookmaking operation, and the youngster was awestruck by the nattily dressed men who came and went. He's like, what are those? He's like the dude from Goodfellas.
Right. At the very young age of 15, he said, you know what? I ain't going to school no more. 1951. Okay, cool.
Dropped out of high school, man.
Dropped out of high school, age 15. 1951, during the Korean War, D'Arco served 2 years as volunteer in the United States Army. Fantastic. After an honorable discharge from the Army, D'Arco returned to Brooklyn, got married. He and his wife, 5 children.
Yeah.
One of his sons, Joseph, became a member of the Lucchese family.
He did.
Instantly, like as soon as he got born.
Well, yeah, probably. Like you're the one.
Which one? How about him? During the 1950s, D'Arco became an associate in the Vario crew from Goodfellas, a Lucchese crew led by longtime capo Paul Vario.
Paulie from Goodfellas.
Right. And base in the Canarsie neighborhood, wherever that's at. Among those who tutored him was an old-school mobster named Vincenzo Altamari, they call him Jimmy Alto, who ran high-stakes crap games, and his headquarters was a cafe on Mott Street. He said, be low-key, don't stand out. Those were some of the lessons that Altamari taught D'Arco.
Well, apparently he took the lesson to heart, because unlike flashy Mafia contemporaries such as Gotti, who sauntered through the Little Italy streets with an entourage,
right.
D'Arco lived modestly and conservatively. His residence was a government-subsidized apartment on Spring Street.
Fantastic.
There were no gumas or girlfriends on the side. Until his death, he remained loyal to his wife, Dolores, who had swept him off of his budding young gangster feet when they'd met in a Brooklyn nightclub on Flatbush Avenue in 1953.
Good for this guy.
His only indulgence was a little restaurant on Cleveland Place called La Donna Rosa.
Look at this guy. A little respect, huh? Nice. He likes his old lady. Billed as Ristorante Siciliana, it featured recipes that D'Arco, an amateur cook he was, had learned from his grandparents, such as ravioli stuffed with wild rabbit mousse and wild mushrooms. Patrons included Robert De Niro, who studied moves of the mobsters who dined there. JFK Jr. also ate there, but he sat alone, quietly enjoying his lunch when he was a district attorney at a nearby courthouse. Late mayor and gourmand Ed Koch was once turned away at the door by D'Arco. A roomful of gangsters were holding a confab there. I told him it was a private party. That's what he told the New York Post later in his life.
Yeah, you'd like to... well, you'll see. He's a talker. Let's put it that way.
Right.
In 1959, we'll go back a little bit. D'Arco, he met his future Lucchese boss, Victor Amuso. 1960s, D'Arco was convicted on drug-related charges and spent several years in prison. After he was released, he returned to the Lucchese family, which was then run by old Tony Ducks.
Tony Ducks.
Even allowing for the long-standing freeze on new members dating back to 1957, D'Arco had a long wait to become a made man.
Yep.
He did finally receive his quote-unquote button August 23rd, 1982, just a month after his 50th birthday.
Fantastic.
In the 1980s, D'Arco opened an Italian restaurant, La Donna Rosa. That's what we just said. It would serve as a frequent Lucchese meeting place.
It had to be. Right. Well, he then became involved in the bookmaking, loan sharking, occasional drug deals, and, of course, little petty criminal activities. During his criminal year, D'Arco would be involved in 10 moitas.
Oh.
His criminal record would include extortion, murder conspiracy, robbery, arson, tax evasion, counterfeiting, narcotics trafficking, burglary, hijacking, and, of course, there's that little assault there.
Sprinkle on some assault. Sprinkle some assault.
Sprinkle on that little assault. Well, don't take him with the grain of salt. 1983, D'Arco was convicted of heroin trafficking.
Oh,
you idiot. Sentenced 4 years in prison. Paroled 1986.
All right, well.
Good time then, huh?
That same year, Victor Amuso, he took control of the Lucchese family. 2 years later, Anthony Corallo, he became underboss.
Right.
They called him Gas Pipe.
Yes.
That's not a good name. 1988, Vario, he died in prison while serving a life sentence for the infamous Lufthansa heist.
Yeah.
As a result, Amuso promoted D'Arco to capo of the old Vario crew.
We didn't do that, did we?
Not yet, considering we're still on that family.
Right.
1990, Amuso selected D'Arco to organize a Lucchese construction panel. A committee of Lucchese family members. The panel would oversee the Lucchese-controlled unions and construction companies and coordinate joint business ventures with other 5 families of the Cosa Nostra.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, he seems smart now.
Right. Mid-80s. D'Arco was becoming a very, very rich and powerful man due to the earnings from his crew and from his loan sharking portfolio. Soon he would collect tribute from the Lucchese crews for Amuso and Casso. Oh, wow. On one Christmas day, D'Arco, he put together a $100,000 holiday gift for the 2 leaders from all the capos.
Good for him.
August 1990, D'Arco facilitated the murder of Lucchese mobster Bruno.
It would be Faciola, it'd be Faciola.
Faciola, yeah. D'Arco facilitated the murder of Lucchese mobster Bruno Faciola. Muso suspected Faciola of being an informant, and he said, "Gotta go."
Well, Faciola, he tried to run away when he found out he was about to be set up, but he was tackled and dragged back into the garage where he was stabbed and shot.
Oh man!
On Amuso's instructions, the hitman placed a dead canary, the sign of an informant, on Faciola's mouth after they killed him.
Wow!
In his mouth.
Right.
January 91, Amuso and Casso, they received an early warning about an upcoming federal indictment and went into hiding, leaving D'Arco as the acting boss.
Wow!
Uh-oh. This is where it gets dicey.
D'Arco, he would meet with them twice in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and several times at safe houses in Brooklyn. Summer of 1991, D'Arco met with warring factions in the Colombo crime family to mediate a peace agreement. He's like, "Hey man, we're a little disheveled right now."
You just know, 3 years ago, the damn Mafia commission trial took out about everybody. What are you guys doing?
Right. However, Casso sent him on this mission in hopes that Lucchese could grab Colombo rackets. Through their ruthlessness and brutality, Amuso and Casso generated many internal conflicts in the Lucchese family, broke down the unity and loyalty of its members. Damn. The family, they felt the two bosses were greedy and paranoid, ordering too many murders to make themselves feel secure. Yeah,
They're paranoid, dude.
They just got to go.
Early 1991, Amuso became falsely convinced that Lucchese capo Peter Chiodo had become a government witness and ordered D'Arco to kill him. May of 91, Chiodo was shot 12 times, but survived the attack.
He did.
Because he was so fat, his girth kept any bullets from severing critical arteries.
Very true.
Chiodo then became a government witness, testified in June 1991 at a Lucchese trial. Amuso and Casso, they sent more hit orders to D'Arco. Amuso, he ordered the family's entire New Jersey faction, the Jersey Crew, killed, which was the Whack Jersey order, when they refused to increase the family's share of their profits.
Oh, wow.
They said, fuck this guy.
Casso gave D'Arco a list of 49 people he wanted dead, half of whom Lucchese wise guys. Oh, my. Amuso then ordered D'Arco to bring in a bomb expert from Philadelphia in order to blow up Gambino boss John Gotti. And these guys are fighting by themselves, between themselves, and still trying to take out other. Wow. Not very smart here.
Clearly.
Holy shit. All these actions convinced D'Arco and other Lucchese wise guys that Amuso and Casso, they're no longer acting rational. Like, these guys are not with it. What's going on? Later, D'Arco explained his role in the family. When a job needed to be done, whenever they needed to do something unpleasant to someone, I was the prick chosen.
All right. Nice. Whatever that accent was, but in a 3-year span of violence between 88 and 91, Lucchese gunmen killed a total of 17 men. Their bodies left sprawling in underground garages, dumped into landfills, jammed into car trunks, or secretly cremated.
Yeah.
At the boss's direction, a dead canary was stuffed into the mouth, like we said.
Right.
Obviously, that was supposed to be a sign of being an informant, but like we know, that was untrue.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the death sentences ordered by Amuso and Casso, D'Arco came to realize, had little to do with the Mafia disloyalty.
No, these guys are just, like I said before, paranoid and freaking greedy.
Yeah, most of the murders were an effort to eliminate potential rivals and seize their often lucrative crime operations. They just wanted to get rich, and they're behind the scenes not doing anything.
I don't even know if the street gangs were this bad. I mean, I know they're bad, but, man.
Well, so far, this Amuso and Casso guys are
kind of like the street gangs now. D'Arco, he knew that Amuso and Casso blamed him for the failed attack on Chiodo, and he believed that they were waiting to kill him. July 1991, Staten Island meeting. Amuso, Casso replaced D'Arco as acting boss with a 4-man panel of capos. Oh. D'Arco was named to this panel, but it was obvious that Amuso and Casso no longer trusted him. Lucky you're still alive. 18th September 1991, he attended a meeting of Lucchese leaders in Manhattan's Kimberly Hotel. In the middle of the meeting, Mike DeSantis, soldier and the crew panel member Frank Lastrino, he showed up even though he wasn't a member of the panel himself. That's not good.
Uh-oh. Well, D'Arco noticed DeSantis had a gun hidden under his shirt in the small of his back. DeSantis, also wearing a bulletproof vest.
Oh, shit.
Later, DeSantis went to the bathroom, and when he came back, the gun was gone. D'Arco, he knew this was a classic setup for a hit. The next person to go in the bathroom was likely to come out shooting.
You ain't kidding.
Convinced his life was threatened, D'Arco rushed out of the hotel. His driver, nowhere to be found, which was another indication to D'Arco that he had been marked for death.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was gone, dude.
Wow. Look at it. Look at that guy. Very next day, FBI agents warned D'Arco that he was indeed in danger. D'Arco decided to desert the Mafia. However, knowing that Casso frequently boasted that he had at least one FBI agent on his payroll, he was too fearful to go to the FBI in Manhattan. Right. He fled the city along with his wife, his son, and several other close relatives. On a Saturday night, D'Arco traveled to FBI office in New Rochelle in New York and offered to become a government witness. Like, I want those fuckers dead. I would have went a little further.
Right. Like go to Missouri or something.
Vermont.
Right. Well, despite being under FBI protection, D'Arco still feared that a corrupt FBI agent had betrayed him to Casso. When federal prosecutors finally met with D'Arco, they found him hiding in the bathroom of his hotel room.
Oh.
At the time, he was the highest-ranking member of a New York Mafia crime family to break his blood oath and testify against the mob.
Well, he kind of had to.
Which, like we said, would stand up until Bonanno boss Joseph Massino turned informer in 2004.
Actually, I don't think he would have had to actually go to the FBI. If he would just left, they probably would just left him alone.
Doubtful.
Yeah, there's no reason to kill him.
Of course it was.
Outpoured a vast stream of mob knowledge. D'Arco laid it all out. He detailed loan shark arrangements. He detailed the union locos. He even said the mobsters who controlled them. The monthly payoffs from the construction companies. He even gave them the hierarchies of each crime family. Oh. Even a list of more than 24 factions in the Sicilian Mafia. Oh, shit. Well, you got to bring the Sicilians along with this.
Well, he also told how the mob had divided the proceeds from the scrap iron generated by the demolition of the old elevated West Side Highway.
Man. Holy shit.
The mob had also profited from the construction of a huge nuclear power plant. Mob penetration of the construction industry remained so deep, he told them, that even a concrete contractor then working on federal projects and who had allegedly been vetted for mob ties was paying $20,000 a month to his crime family.
Oh, my gosh.
He was the best. Michael Campy was a former FBI supervisor who spent 20 years chasing wise guys in New York. And he was on one of those debriefing missions. That's what he told the New York Post, said he was the best. This was for a book called Mob Boss, which is a biography of D'Arco. Al D'Arco was the most significant made member to cooperate. He really built that bridge for others to cross.
Dude,
and he really did.
He did. Son of a bitch. Wow. Over the next 10 years, D'Arco testified in dozens of trials, along with many grand jury hearings and other legal proceedings. His testimony helped convict Amuso, acting Colombo crime family boss Victor Little Vic Oriana, Bonanno family concierge Anthony Spiro, Genovese crime family concierge James Ida, and Genovese boss Vincent the Chin Gigante. D'Arco also testified at the trial of Louis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa. Yeah, the two corrupt NYPD detectives who provided Casso with info. His testimony, along with many other Lucchese defectors, nearly destroyed the Lucchese family. Ooh.
Altogether, prosecutors credited him with helping to convict more than 50 mobsters.
Oh, wow.
He was one of the toughest, most difficult witnesses I ever faced, said Gerald Shargle, who was the veteran defense attorney who represented Amuso and others.
You know he couldn't do anything.
Right. Like, no matter what I'm doing, I can't break him. Well, aside from recalling meetings and murders, his testimony from the stand also sometimes lapsed into a kind of mob poetry. Asked how he became involved in the Mafia in one trial, he explained that, like we said, it was always around my neighborhood. It's like you're in the forest.
Right.
The neighborhood is the forest, and all the trees in it, well, a lot of the trees were organized crime men.
Exactly.
It was a way of life. His shift from gangster to witness was just another phase in that life, he said.
Yep. I'm still a mobster, he said, but I'm an outlaw. What?
Outlaw's got to be alone.
Right. Yeah, he goes, I'm still a mobster, but I'm an outlaw. That's all. It's not like they throw you out of the mob when you flip. You're just considered an outlaw. That's what I am. Still sitting in a chain motel in Middle America, far from Little Italy streets, for a series of interviews for the book. Little Al D'Arco often talked nostalgic about the world he left behind. I could be back to crime now if I wanted it. Crime is crime. You don't forget how to make a living. But he had given his final word to the feds. He said, if I am starving, I won't go back to it. I gave my word. But as far as living day to day, I take that life any fucking day of the week.
Yes, sir. And he would. He indeed joined the Witness Protection Program According to government sources, D'Arco was an excellent witness and did not commit any further criminal acts.
Sure.
While still in witness protection, Little Al died March 28, 2019 at the age of 86.
I guarantee you he ran a little operation that they didn't care about.
Doubt it.
No, you know it.
Doubt it. He was a fucking ex-mob boss that put away everybody. You think they weren't setting him up with $100,000 a year at least?
He probably still ran something.
Doubt it.
Like a pot shop or something?
Doubt it. Especially not if he was content on living in some little rinky-dink shack when he was a boss.
Yeah, this dude he said, you know what? These sons of bitches are trying to kill me for no fucking reason.
Fuck them. They're getting a little out of hand. I'll go take $100,000 a year. Like, guarantee they paid him at least $100,000 a year in the witness protection.
Probably.
Guaranteed. So, yeah. Well, that's these two guys. That was D'Arco. Good little story for that guy. I like it. Next week, next month, we'll be back for some more. Who it's going to be? Probably Little Joe DeFede, Stevie Crea, and maybe Louis Bagels.
Maybe.
And then probably wrap it up with Maddie Madonna and Big Mike DeSantis and Vic Amuso. So, yeah, go subscribe, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. We'll be back next week for next week we're gonna officially start it's probably gonna be the Mongols. We'll start next week. That's probably only gonna be 2 episodes.
Maybe.
It will be 2 episodes for sure. Yeah, because we have the history of them and then some crimes. Okay. And there's not very much of that around the world, especially. United States will be its own episode, and around the world is going to be mixed in with the history of the club because there's not much around the world for these guys.
I know what you're going to do.
But yeah, we'll have the Mongols coming up next week, and then we'll finish off Wyatt Earp's story on our remastered the next week after that, and we'll wrap up the month with some more serial killers. So,
Wyatt living his final years.
After the Vendetta ride. So that's what we got planned for the rest of the month. So we'll see you next week for Outlaws and Gunslingers. We are the month of Michigan this week.
Bang, bang.